Time to talk about some fake outrage, right? Unlike all of the outrage on this channel, which is very real. Even if we're making fun of something, we're laughing at something, we are pursuing something to the world's end. All of those discussions on this channel, they are real. They are authentic. And this outrage just doesn't feel authentic to me. Because I'm going to ask you a hypothetical question that's not so hypothetical. Do you give a shit about the Nations League? Do you really give a shit about the Nations League? I mean, actually involving a significant amount of your emotional well-being, of your emotional experience in the success of your team in the Nations League. And CONCACAF, that's one thing. Because for whatever reason, the Nations League, not for whatever reason, I could explain the reasons, but I don't feel like it. The Nations League is the most important tournament in CONCACAF. It just is the way the way the calendars line up for different teams to be able to play. But if we're talking about European Nations League, do you really care? Probably not. If you're European, if you have European ancestry in some way that you're able to root for a European team and you maybe watch a European national team and hope they do well, well then you probably don't care, right? And so if you are a player who we talk about on this channel a lot, if you are a player that has 60 matches to play over the course of the season, or as Pep Guardiola talks about 70 matches to play over the course of a season, then why should you care? Why should you care about the Nations League? Why should you care about going there? Because I saw, this is just out of touch to me. Okay, Harry Kane has come out and basically said, maybe it's been taken advantage of a little bit. I don't really like it, if I'm totally honest. Talking about English players skipping this international break. Okay, now I think it's 8 players. I don't know exactly. I found these 8 players: Aaron Ramsdale, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Levi Colwill, Declan Rice, Bukayo Saka, Cole Palmer, Jack Grealish, and Phil Foden. Okay, it's those players that have basically said that despite the call up from the interim head coach, by the way, Lee Carsley, it is not Tuchel yet. He's not in charge of, I believe his first window will be in March, if I understand that contract. So he is not in charge of this window. So you're not trying to impress your new manager to try and get into that World Cup squad, to try and be able to play in those World Cup qualifiers. This is the interim manager. And you have Nations League matches coming up against Greece and Ireland. There's so many parts of this that I think are dumb, but I think it also makes complete sense for these players to sit this out. This is the 3rd international window in 3 months. This is part of the September, October, November part of the season. You just rip through all 3 of them. It's the 3rd international window in 3 months that these players are having to deal with. It's not even the first one that some of these players have skipped. Cole Palmer skipped the one in September because of fatigue. September is supposed to be the start of the season, and he skipped it because of fatigue. Right? In this international window, for these players, which, by the way, to a man, honestly, it's not unusual for this to be the case in the English national team, but to a man, all of these players play in the Premier League. Almost every single one of these players plays for a club where they'd be in European competition as well. I believe 6 of the 8 are playing in a team where they're expected to participate in European competition. This is their last opportunity to get a break. Actually, you're going to be playing multiple matches a week, very likely through the end of January, given the way the European competition is set up now. You're going to be playing European matches through at least the middle of January. And there is not going to be another break that you have the opportunity to take. A couple days off. A couple days, maybe not at the training facility. A couple of days where, you can just be home with the family, or, home by yourself playing video games, or take that time for yourself that every human being needs in order to be able to reset their mental. The funny thing is, about this quote, who does have that break? Harry Kane. Harry Kane has that break. He has a winter break in Germany. He's going to get time off. So yeah, it makes more sense that he's going to be up to play against Greece and Ireland. He just has less matches to play. He's got a whole break to look forward to, right? He's not sprinting his way into another sprint. He's sprinting his way into vacation. There is a fantastic essay I think it's by Mark Twain. And I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it captures an idea that I think is very important when it comes to this. And that is, Mark Twain, he was either a boat captain on the Mississippi River or was friends of one. I don't know. But he talks about the first time you sail down the Mississippi River, or you sail up the Mississippi River, right? And the experience of seeing the sun set across the water and the beauty of the woods and, a bunch of America, like Purple Mountain's Majesty type shit, right? Like you see all of the beauty. You see the way the water flows. You see the little islands. You see the animals drinking on the shore. You see the rocks, right? Like the cliffs, right? You see all of these beautiful things. And then the more you take boats up and down the river, the less you see those things. The more you take boats up, and it's a really well-written essay because he'll talk about why you used to see the way the water flowed, and you'd like see people, you'd see faces in it, and you'd see kind of like it was very artistic. It was like a spiritual experience to watch the way the water was flowing. But now when you see that, you go, oh, low tide's coming, right? Like it's a whole different experience. That's what's happening to these players, because what Harry Kane is suggesting, and look, I usually feel like what Harry Kane does and the way he carries himself, I don't necessarily have any problem with. This just didn't make any sense to me because, one, you're going to say this, you're going to get all of these players a whole rash of shit from the, there's always that collection of people that are just like smacking they wake up every morning and they smack their ass and they smack the flag, right? Like that's, and anytime you're seen as potentially disrespecting the nation or playing for the nation, then it is, even if that perception is wrong, then they're just going to get really offended about it. And these types of quotes are just going to fuel those people to get really offended about this when they're not. I don't think they're disrespecting the national team at all. I think that none of these players were coming in to make their debut, right? I think that the longer you sail up and down the Mississippi River, the more you look at it like a job. I mean, you can't convince me that these guys don't want to play for their national team, or that they don't see it as an honor to play for their national team. But at the same time, nobody is going to look out for you if you don't look out for yourself in the world of football. You are the person that has to look out for yourself. They've got this huge run of matches coming up, and this is like the least important window imaginable, right? When we used to have friendlies, right, there used to just be windows with friendlies, it was perfectly acceptable for these national teams to be pretty severely rotated. One of the biggest problems caused by the Nations League is fun as it is to have every match be a competitive match for these teams that are in Europe, is every match is a competitive match. The result is at least tracked and logged in this competition, where England is currently embarrassed because they are not in Nations League A, which is this giant embarrassment for them. And it also makes headlines when these 8 players sit out a window when the Nations League is active, when if it was a friendly, these players saying like, hey, I'm tired, we got a big run of matches coming up, I'm not going to be able to get, that wasn't nearly as big of a deal because, it's just a friendly, right? There isn't this competitive tracking of the event. But there's the two parts of this. The first part being that Harry Kane has just decided to hand red meat to the types of people that are just going to be offended by this sort of action. And then the other part is that you just shouldn't be offended by this sort of action. Right now, if somebody just goes home from the World Cup and decides they don't want to play anymore and rips their shirt off, I don't really want to, that we're talking about something different here, right? But if you are in the middle of a very long professional season, this isn't World Cup qualifying, this isn't Euros qualifying, this is Nations League, not even A, it's Nations League B, right? You're playing Ireland and Greece, and if we are being honest, England can probably put together 4 national teams that can win these ties. Like 4 whole-ass national teams that could beat Ireland and could beat Greece. Now, obviously, the more, as you go down, the odds of winning are going to go down a little bit, but it's not like England's national team pool isn't deep enough to be able to win these matches comfortably. It's not like Trent Alexander-Arnold or Cole Palmer or Jack Grealish are hanging England out to dry by not going to play in this match or in these matches. They're just taking care of themselves. They're just taking care of themselves, because if they go play for England and they keep playing, and they go into training every day for like 7 or 8 months and playing multiple matches a week for like 4 or 5 straight months, and their hamstrings go out, like we see happen more and more, then they're not actually going to be able to help England in the World Cup, in World Cup qualifying, in Euros qualifying, in the Euros. They're not actually going to be able to go there and show up because they're not going to be fit to play. They're keeping themselves fit to play for the matches that actually matter, not even just for their club, but also for England. But don't think I didn't notice. There is one, like, as much as I'm defending the players' right to sit out these kind of more meaningless international windows that have replaced friendlies, I don't think I didn't notice that both Declan Rice and Jack Grealish decided to skip the window where they're playing against Ireland. The two guys that made a one-time switch from the Irish national team to the English national team. Maybe they were already tired and they just didn't want to catch a rash of shit. I did notice that. And I think that is a little, maybe you can't make as compelling an argument for those two guys. Well, Declan Rice has a broken toe, but I just thought it was funny that both of them happen to be skipping the window. Context is important. If you have broken bones, you get to skip international windows.